I believe so, yes.
And-
Chris
And
K,
20.
thank you. Karen D,
21.
Carmen W,
22,
Lisa H. I'm sorry, Liz H,
23.
Nancy O,
24.
Madeline R,
25,
Leisha C,
26,
Tina R,
27.
Judy T.
28.
Okay, we've got quorum. And can everybody whose hands are still up, can you just go in and lower your hands for me? Okay, so Florence, do you have any announcements before we get started?
Sorry, I haven't been counted.
We already made quorum, Yaniv. So everybody with a hand up, if you could please lower it for me. Some of yours, like Yvonne and Nancy, I had already lowered yours, so now you have a hand up.
The only announcement I have, Kathy, is there anyone that signed up for the hospitality suite following business today?
Oh,
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to remind everybody that when you unmute yourself to talk, to please remember to introduce yourselves. So we've done our quorum count. So now the board has got 15 minutes to assign voting entity issues.
Good day, Nancy O. From New Brunswick, Canada, the current chair of the CoDA board. I'll be reporting on this. Connie, would you mind bringing up the IMC report that we spoke about? Do you have that up and ready to go? While she's doing that, I just want to clarify for those of you who aren't familiar with the process, if you are a voting entity, you have the option at this point in time to bring forward a motion. In a way, it's called a voting entity issue. And it needs to be presented, it could be presented at any time of the year, but in order for the voting entities to be assigned by the time conference sits, they should be in within 30 days before conference. So we have received a variety of those, and some came on time, some came after the 30-day deadline, some were actually from last year. And those that come before the 30 days, they are assigned by the board, and those that come after the 30 days, we can assign them at any time after conference. But the board has been on top of all of these, and all of the motions that came before the 30 days and after the 30 days, all of them have been assigned. And I'd just like to do a quick review. IMC did an update report for us, and I'm just going to go over those. If you could just scroll down a little bit further, because we're looking at voting entity issues. The CoDA Canada item is the voting entity literature, which is different. Scroll up, up, up. You went way too far. Right there. Okay, so there were a few voting entity issues that were from last year. They were assigned at last year's conference and are now coming forward this year because they were assigned to a committee. First one is the Arizona voting entity issue on the preamble. They had requested to update the CoDA preamble with one change in the first sentence. The suggestion is to change the first line by replacing the language stating men and women with the word people. That was initially assigned to literature. They turned it back to us and we assigned it to the service structure committee. That it kind of fell through the loop with a change in the chair. And then we came to realize that it was most appropriate to assign it to communications, who also had a motion they were considering related to the same issue. So it was assigned to communications, And that is being brought forward this year. It'll be one of the motions that communications is presenting. The next item that's on the list is the Georgia preamble. Also, this came in this year. It was assigned to communications, and they have collaborated, Georgia and communications, and it's going to be presented when communications does their presentation on the motion that Arizona also brought forward. So just scroll down a little bit more there, Connie, if you wouldn't mind. The next one from last year is the Arizona Tradition 11 voting entity issue. That was initially assigned to the Service Structure Committee. And that one was presented as a CSC motion, and again at 2021 as a motion, but it was assigned to Service Structure Committee, and now that is being brought forward by the Service Structure Committee this year. So that's being presented. You'll have that on your list of motions we'll be going through. And what they want is to propose this wording. Our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need to always maintain personal anonymity at the level of all public forms of media. So the next item is from last year. I was a little confused. The Texas Meeting Handbook. It was initially assigned to literature, but it had to be resubmitted for reconsideration for the 2022 CSC. The 2020 motion will be expired in 2021, and the board denied resubmission this year only because they weren't ready. They were requesting that it come forward, that they be given that they put in a motion to allow them to bring it back next year, but we gave them permission to proceed to submit it. They could submit it on their own, or they could do it together with literature. So literature GC was to accept the work, and they, I believe, will be working together with Texas to come up with a motion to bring forward next year in 2022. So could you scroll down for me, Connie? This is a new motion from Arizona this year, Health Guidelines 2021. It was assigned to the board, and they're suggesting a health recommendation for mask and other related guidance in the FSM. The board will be working with Arizona to resolve the issue that they brought forward. The next item, SoCal Healing Prayer 2021. This has been assigned to the Literature Committee. They were looking to endorse CoDA approved prayer to be included in CoDA literature. And that is something that was just assigned a few days ago, once we found out what SoCal wanted to do with that, because they actually could have brought that forward as voting entity literature or voting entity issue, and we gave them the choice, and they made the decision to proceed as a voting entity issue. So hopefully that'll come back next year. And the last item that we have is the Canada Inclusive Language Voting Entity issue. That was also assigned to the board. It's similar to the 2020 Arizona preamble and the 2021 Georgia preamble, but for all CoDA literature, documents, media, etc. So that is the voting entity issue in full review. Are there any questions? Somebody has their hand up.
Lisa.
Lisa J.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Nancy. Lisa J. from Illinois delegate. It's a simple question, I hope. I'm wondering why the Canada voting entity issue was assigned to the board and not to literature, much like the others, or communication. Thank you.
Little marker.
Hello.
Please mute yourself if you are
So
not
that means-
talking.
That was me,
I'm
sorry.
with markers.
No, that was me. I'm looking at the YouTube.
Now everybody has been muted.
So, sorry, that was me. I was looking at YouTube.
No worries. Go ahead, Lisa.
I
Were
would
you
love
done
an
with your question?
answer. I think, I don't know if she's talking or what. So
Yeah,
my
Nancy-
question was why it
Nancy-
was assigned.
Nancy's
Sorry, go
still
ahead.
muted.
Yeah. Oh, Nancy, you're muted, honey. Sorry, everybody was
Oh,
muted.
sorry.
It's all right.
Go ahead again, Lisa.
Okay, so my question was why the Canada voting entity issue was assigned to the board and not to communication, much in the same manner as the other voting entity issues that were similar. That would be Georgia and Arizona. Thank you.
The board thinks that this will be resolved quickly following the CSC. Rather than getting into all the details, we feel that we'll be able to proceed with the solution fairly quickly. Depending upon how the outcome of this conference plays out. And if it so happens that, what we're hoping to happen happens, then it'll get resolved quickly. If not, we'll probably proceed to pass it on to another committee.
Okay, thank you.
Dave S.
Yeah, hi, Dave S., SSC Chair. Just a quick punctuation for Nancy's report regarding the SSC motion. That is our motion number 1 in your delegate packet. Thank you.
Thank
Dave, can you clarify SSC?
Service Structure Committee.
Are there any other questions for the board? Okay. Before we get started, there were some things I didn't get to read this morning. I just would like to review quickly. If you have a point of order, anytime during the CSC, if you are worried or notice something has been skipped or done out of order, you may use the raise hand feature and also type point of order in the chat box to everyone. You don't have to write what your point of order is, and somebody from events will tell me and I will call on you. 30-second timeouts. Any participant may call for 30 seconds of silence at any time in order to remind the assembly of higher powers guiding presence or to slow down an escalating debate. Each period of silence will be followed by the serenity prayer. When calling for 30 seconds, raise your hand using the raised hand feature. Type 30 seconds in the chat box to everyone. Wait for the response from events and from the facilitator. Okay, so we are ready to get started with the board 5 motions. And I need to just get my timer. I have right now that you have an hour and 55 minutes for your 5 motions. And when you are ready.
I believe that Matt, you're presenting the first one.
Yes.
So Matt, I'm gonna just ask you to kind of bear with me today. This is my first day to use my new timers. And so you're gonna hear beeping and probably hearing me frustrated. So we'll start out here. We'll start out with, you have 2 minutes to read your first motion.
Okay. Tell me when to go.
Go.
Okay. This is board motion 1, posting deadline wording change. Move to correct the wording of the following sentence from part 4, section 2, page 10 of the Fellowship Service Manual. Replace existing with procedures for submitting CSC items. I'm just going to read these top 3. All motions will be emailed to submit CSC at CoDA.org 75 days before start of conference. As defined by our bylaws, and bylaw changes must be submitted to the board secretary in electronic form no later than 75 days before start of conference. The important part is this bolded. The bylaw and other motions will be posted on the CoDA.org website, and email notification of their availability will occur no later than 70 days prior to the start of CSC. This is 5 days after the 75 days prior to start of CSC, when the above bylaw and motions are due. So I'm going to skip down. That's the added part. The intent and background, there was a motion last year that changed when those would be posted on the website and available for delegates, but that caused confusion. It did not change the actual deadline to get them submitted. So this is really just to correct that. So the deadline did not change 75 days prior to conference. And then it allows a 5-day window to get those posted to the website. That's it. I'm done.
Thank you. Okay, so now we are going to have 6 minutes for questions. We're going to be using the raised hand feature. So if you have questions for Matt, please raise your hand and then I will start the timer and call on you in order.
Right now? Okay. I don't have to write down the questions. Oh, right. Just that they do.
Okay, let's please mute ourselves if we aren't talking. Crystal Z.
Hi, so I'm noticing that this is 5 days after the 75-day initial posting, and there's nothing saying that it needs to, that any changes that get posted within that 15-day window, the 60, saying that those need to be posted. Or am I
So
wrong?
I believe because I skipped forward and did not mention, I did not read all of that for saving time. Further down in there, it is mentioned. I don't think much of that changes, but I did skip over actually another bolded part, responsibility of voting entity delegates to track and obtain all changes posted to the delegate webpage. So that paragraph there is added also. But further down in here, it does outline the procedure for changes and updates and the deadline for those. The only two things that are being changed are the addition of the first bolded, the bylaw where it specifically clarifies that. And then this mention that is the responsibility of voting entity delegates to verify that those changed before the 60-day motion, the revision cutoff time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have any more questions? I want to remind everybody that you have to ask if there's going to be crafting. That is not something that is automatically done. I don't see any hands for questions right now. Yes, Sally?
Okay, I will do that. I'm Sally from Northern California delegate, and I'd like to ask Matt, are you open to crafting on this particular motion?
I'm going to ask the rest of the board to chime in, but I don't think so. I think this is just a correction of what it is to make clarification. So I think unless someone else from the board wants to jump in and say yes, I think we're good with no crafting.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Okay, let me reset my timer here. Okay, so now we have pros and cons. I'm not going to start the timer for pros and cons until I make my list. And so for the pros, please raise your hand if you want to be a pro. Okay. I would like all people to lower their hands for me that have just raised them, and I have taken note of who you are. And Nancy, can you lower your hand for me? Thank you very much. All of those that would like to be a con, please raise your hand. Any cons? Okay. We're going to start with Gail S. If
Mine.
anybody, 1 second. If anybody, while we are doing the pros, has changed their mind and they want to be a con, then raise your hand. Please, nobody raise your hand right now for questions, so I don't get confused with questions and somebody that changes their mind and wants to do a con. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. If you have a point of order, just put it in the chat.
So Gail, you're first.
Yes, I was the one to structure this motion, and it came upon because there was confusion regarding how this was being done. So these two bolded additions or changes are from the challenges that arose for the posting of the motions on the website. So this is a clarification, not a change. Pass.
Thank you. Erica R.
Yes.
You had your hand up for a pro.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I'm pro for, I would like it to pass. That would be my only comment. Thank you.
Can you please introduce yourself?
I'm sorry, I'm Erica from, delegate from Colorado.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leisha?
I'm Leisha. I'm codependent delegate from Arizona. And yes, it's already been said. This is just a clarification.
Thank you. Karen D.
Karen, did you call Karen D?
I did call Karen D. You had your hand up for a pro.
No, I'm sorry. I did not raise my hand.
Yeah, I didn't have her name written down. I have Linda.
I have Linda V, but I had Karen there as well.
I didn't have her.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. But thank you.
Linda V.
I just agree that it's a clarification. I'm glad that Gail qualified that, and I'm all for it. And I'm sorry for background noise. They're mowing my lawn outside. So,
Thank you. And Nancy O.
That's 5.
Too many, I can.
Well,
I
they
can
still
hold
have
off.
time and we don't have any cons.
Okay.
I'm Nancy O from New Brunswick, Canada, chair of the board. I'm in agreement with this because, as Gail said, this is just a clarification. And actually, there's some additional wording there that the Chairs Forum helped to suggest that we put some changes in. We worked those in to satisfy and help improve it even further. So I think this is it's an improvement over the motion that passed last year. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you. So they weren't open for crafting. And so Matt, will you read the motion as it stands for me, please?
Oh,
What? We ready?
Yep.
I lost my polling capability. So one of my events members, do you have polling? Not sure why I lost it. I didn't sign out.
Does I need to be logged in?
Oh, do you have polling?
No.
Kevin, you have it?
Nope.
Unbelievable.
So we can just do by hands, Florence. Okay.
I don't think that's going to work very well. Okay.
Well,
I need all my events members to sign out and come back.
Okay. Matt, go
Am
ahead.
I host? Am I not host? Because somebody just said I'm not host.
You're host.
Yeah, I just need all my events members to sign out completely and come back. And then you can go ahead, I guess, and do this one that way, but they need to do that for the next one. So.
Okay, Matt.
Okay. Ready to read? Okay. Motion name, posting deadline, wording change. Motion issue. Move to correct the wording of the following sentence from Part 4, Section 2, page 10 of the Fellowship Service Manual, last revision, 2021 5-9. I am going to read the two bolded sections, if that's allowed. Procedures for submitting CSC items. The bylaw and other motions will be posted on the CoDA.org website, and email notifications of their availability will occur no later than 70 days prior to the start of CSC. This is 5 days after the 75 days prior to the start of CSC, when the above bylaw and other motions are due. Other bolded section. It is the responsibility of the voting entity delegates to track and obtain all changes posted to the delegate webpage. Delegates are encouraged to share available information with their voting entity, intergroup meetings, and offer feedback before the 60-day motion revision cutoff. Revisions are common during this period, so it is imperative to keep track of revised motions. Hard copy of the delegate package will not be available at CSC.
Thank you. We're now going to take 30 seconds. God,
Higher
grant me the
power,
serenity
grant me the
to
serenity.
accept the things I
The things
cannot change,
I cannot change.
the courage to
Courage
change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Chris, is there anybody that isn't eligible to vote on this?
I did not see Jose, Freddie, Joe, or Yvonne on video. Apparently Yaniv just went off video, and I'm not sure there's a Joan who hasn't updated her name via X.
Okay, Joan, can you update your name, please? And Jose, Freddie, and Joan, which should not be voting. Was there anybody else, Chris?
Yvonne.
Yvonne? Okay, Matt, could you read the motion one more time?
Yes, okay. Okay, posting deadline wording change. Move to correct the wording of the following sentence from Part 4, Section 2, page 10 of the Fellowship Service Manual, last revision, 2021 5-9. Bylaw and other motions will be posted on the CoDA.org website, and email notifications of their availability will occur no later than 70 days prior to the start of CSC. This is 5 days after the 75 days prior to the start of CSC, when the above bylaw and other motions are due. It is the responsibility of VE delegates to track and obtain all changes posted to the delegate webpage. Delegates are encouraged to share available information with their voting entity, intergroup meetings, and offer feedback before the 60-day motion revision cutoff. Revisions are common during this period, so it is imperative to keep track of revised motions. Hard copy of the delegate packages will not be available at CSC.
Thank you. Florence, I'm assuming you still don't have polling?
Correct. And Florence left.
Okay,
To go out
so
and come
all
back
of
in.
those in favor of this motion that can vote, please use your raised hand feature and vote. I should say vote yes, all those that want yes. Okay, I've got 2 people that are using the green check mark. Can you use your raised hand feature instead? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to give just a couple more seconds. Is everybody that wants to vote yes, have they voted yes?
Assisted touch menu. Assisted touch
Okay,
Catherine,
is there somebody that's calling my name? I think it was Rosa, but now she's gone. Okay, so I've got the count for the yeses. If everybody could please lower their hands who have voted yes.
I'm having issues with my internet connection, Catherine. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
I can hear you.
Sorry, I cannot find the raise hand feature here. And I cannot unmute myself. I don't know what's going on.
Okay, I don't know if you want to back out and come back in. Do you want to?
Can I pass my badge? Can I pass my badge to my alternate right now until I can figure out what's going on?
Yeah, is your alternate been able to vote? Chris, who are you going to pass to?
Oh, I found my raise hand. I'm so sorry. I'm going to go ahead and just raise my hand. Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry.
so I've got 3 hands up right now. And were you in the original vote and you guys haven't lowered your hands? So if you could please lower your hands, Erica R and Gail S. If you could lower your hands. All of those, yeah, Erica, if you could lower your hand.
11:20 a.m. Tuesday, July 27. 100% battery power. 11:20 a.m.
Okay, let me lower that for you, Erica. Okay, so you're good. Don't touch anything. Rosa, I've taken care of you. All those that are a no for this vote, please raise your hand.
Tuesday, July 27.
I see no raised hands for no's. Are there any abstentions?
Press home to unlock button.
Okay, so we had, Connie, if you could just make note that we had on board motion number 1, we had 40 yeses, we had 0 no's and 0 abstentions.
Thank you.
Okay, so board, we can move on to your second motion.
Okay, I have polling back, so we have it for the next one.
Thank you. Who's going to be presenting the next board motion?
Nancy O here with Gail.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
And,
Gail.
yes. So board motion number 2, motion name is CoDA service structure chart. I'm just going to read the very top of this to save time. And then I have another attachment that I think I'm going to get Connie to bring up that looks just at the charts to make it a little bit easier for everyone. Motion issue, move that the Codependents Anonymous CoDA service structure chart of the inverted pyramid revert to the chart used by CoDA from 2005 to 2016 as in figure 1 below. The intent, the CoDA service structure diagram that is currently displayed in the Fellowship Service Manual, Part 1, page 12, as shown below in figure 3, has never been approved by conference. Also, in the absence of a binding vote on ad hoc motions 20030 and 20031 at the 2020 CSC, there is no consensus supporting a change to the inverted pyramid charts that was presented in either motion. So I have another attachment just that brings up the charts in reverse order than what we had them in the motion, because I think it explains things a little bit better. So just, yes, thank you, Connie, just so they can see which chart they're looking at. If you can bring up the whole chart and then zoom it, yeah. So you can see which one it is, and then just scroll back up to the top, Connie. This is figure 3 that was in your motion. So I think we want to discuss these in reverse order. because we think that this is easier for us to make our points. So we're presenting them in the order of figure 3, figure 2, and figure 1. Then we have a figure 4, which I'll discuss when we get to it. Please scroll up to the points. Scroll up, please, up. Okay, thank you. So this is the current structure chart currently in the Fellowship Service Manual and that I just described to you. It has never been approved by conference. This appeared in the FSM sometime between the 2017 conference and the 2018 conference. The Service Structure Committee was unable to provide an explanation when asked during 2020 CSC last year, where it came from. There has been no evidence provided since then, since the conference, to support that the chart was approved by conference. This chart created a perceived split in the CoDA Board of Trustees at the bottom of the chart that did not exist before this, before those 12 years before. Could you scroll it up just a bit, Connie? So up, 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 up to see the bottom. Okay, see the yellow part? That's the split that was created. Okay, let's move on to the next. It broke it down into CoDA, no, up.
So Nancy,
Sorry,
that's,
Nancy, it's hard to read that. So if she could try to make it bigger.
but just to let you know, your 2 minutes is up for your presentation part.
I would like a few more minutes if I have a few more minutes.
It's your time.
Okay. All right, let's scroll up to the next chart, please. Figure 2, this is the last structure chart that was approved by conference in 2017. Please hold still. Bring it down. Bring it down. Okay. You'll note that the CoDA Board of Trustees and CoDA Inc. is indicated as one and the same entity. This chart was rushed during conference and did not receive the attention it deserved. It was approved with the whole change of the FSM that year. And there was very little time devoted to this. So please just scroll up to the bottom of the chart, Connie. Bottom of the chart is where we're focusing. See, at the bottom, CoDA Board of Trustees, CoDA Inc. That's what was approved in 2017. Go up again now. We're going to go at the next, no, up, up. Keep scrolling up, there you go. This chart is the one we're proposing, the structure chart of CoDA. We would like to return to this one. It has been in place for 12 years, probably even longer, but that's as far back as our records go. The CoDA Board of Trustees was defined as follows. Trustees are trusted servants who make up the board of directors of CoDA Inc., a corporation established by the fellowship to handle our legal and business matters. Just a note, the board of directors will probably need to be changed to board of trustees to be in line with our current CoDA bylaws, just because this is an old chart. Returning to this chart will diminish any perceived split caused by the unapproved chart that's currently in the FSM. So just come up so we can see the bottom of this chart, Connie. And that definition I just read to you, it's small. That's what I gave that to you. That is what was there. That's what we propose we return to. And the last chart, scroll up to the last chart, Connie. This was is a much cleaner copy of the one we just looked at from 2016. One of our trusted servants sent this to the board just last week, suggested that we could use it. It's cleaner, less busy, and that we could use this as a more user-friendly version. Just scroll up, Connie, so that we can take a look at this. It's the same thing, a little bit easier to read, but this is what we'll probably propose be developed and put into the CSC manual, the FSM manual. So that is my presentation on the motion. So Connie, you could go back to the motion, please. Thank you. I guess we're ready for questions.
So we have 6 minutes of questions. If you would like to ask questions, please raise your hand and I will call on you in order. Dave, did you change your mind? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, very good. Crystal Z.
So the fine print says trusted servants who are the board of directors for the corporation. Does the Board of Trustees have any responsibility to the CoDA Fellowship?
Of course.
And so I think it's really, that's why I think that, well, I'll do that under pro, pass.
Thank you. Linda V.
The last chart that you showed us, is there a possibility that you could send that us out so we could take a whole look at this and maybe table this motion so we can have a chance to take a look at this last chart along with everything else?
Unfortunately, there are no tabling of motions with
Okay.
this conference. And that last chart is exactly the same chart that you had, except it's just cleaned up. It's pretty. It's got cleaner boxes. The purpose of showing it to you was to allow you to see the reason it was discussed to change that previous chart was it was kind of messy and people found it a little hard to read. But we want to show you that it can be cleaned up. There's no wording changes. I think they changed voting entity to VE in one place, but that can be exactly the same, just using that same type of a cleaned up style for the chart is what we're recommending.
Okay, thanks, Nancy.
Leo C.
Yeah, I have actually a couple of questions. The problem I have with the charts that you propose using as opposed to the 2017 chart is that it puts the CSC up higher than the board. It's my understanding that in this organization, the CSC runs things. The board is subservient to the decisions made by the CSC, not the other way around. And if you're proposing anything different, then that's a no-no.
Leo, what is your question?
The question is, when did the board become a more serious, when did the board take over where they don't have to pay attention to the CSC? It's always been the other way around. So I want to know why they've decided that that shouldn't continue.
Thank you. Thank you,
As it is
Leo.
in the
Your
17 version.
question
I'm
relates.
not through talking yet. Can I finish?
It's one question at a time, Leo. So everybody else is behind you. If you want to ask another question, then I'll call on you again. Thank you. So yeah, Nancy, would you like to answer Leo's question?
The CoDA board is no higher than anyone else than the conference. In all the charts, CSC comes before the board. I know it looks like an inverted pyramid, but the way that it's set up, the boards and the committees report to CSC. I do not see the difference. It's always shown CSC is coming before those boards and the committees.
I have a request to share the pyramid chart again on the screen.
Next question, please.
Dan? Please mute yourself if you're not speaking. Thank you. Dan, go. Dan, you're muted because everybody was muted because of background noise.
Sorry. Question, Nancy. In the motion, it refers that you would revert to figure 1. Would you be ready to have that change to figure 4, since you seem to prefer that one to the number 1?
Nancy, you're muted.
How did that happen? Dan, I don't think that would be something I'd like to do. It's not in the original motion, and I don't think it's necessary. I think that what we would do is probably end up, we could do some crafting saying we would clean up the chart so that it's more easily, more user-friendly, with the intention that it would look similar to that number 4. But the intention would be that we would go back to that one that had been in place for many years and served the fellowship well for those years, and does not create this perceived split. that has caused a lot of tension. With that, I'll pass.
Rosa?
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you so much. Kind of a similar question. For this new and revised chart that is being proposed, and since we had not had a chance to see this, the motion is that we would revert back to a figure that we had not seen before. So my question to you is this figure 4 or newly revised, cleaner revised version? Is this something that is going to be coming back to CSC in 2022? Or is this being used as a way to persuade the vote to go one way or another during this 2021 CSC? Thank you.
As I just replied to Dan, the intention is not to approve figure 4. The intention is to approve the figure that is identified in your motion as figure 1. Oh, sorry, I've got them mixed up. Yeah, figure 1.
Yeah.
And we would just clean it up, make it look prettier. And that, if we want to, we could craft that into the motion just to give the job to SSC, where I think it would probably belong, to have it cleaned up similar to the sample that we have here, which we could provide to them.
I have a request to show the figure 1.
Thank you. Oh, you went too far. Down, down.
Nancy, SSC.
Service Structure Committee.
Thank you.
It's all learning. So if you could make that smaller so people can see the whole chart, Connie, just so they know which one they're looking at, so they can see the whole thing.
So Nancy, just for clarification, this is what was previously in the FSM before the other chart.
That's right.
And you haven't changed anything.
Nothing.
And that's what the motion is, to approve
Exactly.
this. Okay.
Nancy, your 6 minutes is up for questions. You have 3 people with raised hands with questions. Would you like to take the time to answer their questions or move on?
I would like to move on, please.
Okay, so we didn't ask or discuss crafting at all. So we're going to do, I'm sorry, we do pros and cons first. So will everybody please lower their hands? QDT, let me lower your hand here. Okay.
Yes, thanks.
For those that would like to be a pro, please raise your hand. Okay, if you could please lower your hands for the pros. Everybody that had it up, please lower it.
I don't have the name, so I don't have a
them.
backup. You
I have
them.
That's okay, no worries. Dan, can you lower your hand for me? Thank you very much. All of those that would like to be a con, please raise your hand. Okay. Everybody can lower their hands. We're going to start out with, let me get my timer here. Okay, Gail, you're going to be the first pro.
Thank you. I am definitely in favor of this. I never liked that the CoDA Board of Trustees and CoDA Inc. were separated out. It's a very confusing part. It's one and the same. We just have different hats, whether we are in in session with the conference or whether we are acting in behalf of the fellowship outside of conference. It's a very confusing nature. Pass.
Thank you. Evie for a con?
Yes, so I do not see why we are not reverting to the 2017, which was clearly approved at CSC. Since I submitted it, the chart was submitted as an attachment. There was a line in the motion itself that specifically said that the chart was revised and delegates had an opportunity to review all that beforehand, and it was approved. And the changes that were made were corrections and improvements to much of what was written. So I don't see why we're going back to 2016. I believe we should go back to 2017.
Thank you, Evie. Matt for a pro?
So I am in favor of this motion. I think that it doesn't change anything in where decisions are made. We still have an inverted pyramid. Comes from, at the top, the meetings down through the delegates, through our service structure or for our conference, and to the board. I think the division does create confusion. And for me, the reason we're going back to the other one, we approved 2017 based on a chart that was there that we couldn't find the origins of. So the initial split in there was what there was not origins of. So we're trying to go back to, for me, it's just a correction back to what was in there where we could find a traceable link. There was a missing link there. So I'm in favor of going back to where the traceable approval from CSC is, which would be that 2016 chart. Pass.
Elise for a con?
Yes, I'm against this motion. Pretty much Evie said what I was going to say. The 2017 chart was definitely passed with approval. Think that it is okay to bypass what CSC said to go back to something before, and I don't know what's meant by missing link or whatever, because I don't remember that ever being an issue. And again, if we can to go back and undo what CSC did in 2017, I don't see the reason why we're doing that. So I pass.
Dan for a pro?
Dan from CoDA Canada. I like the placement of figure 1, so I'm in agreement with the motion. There's a clear distinction at the bottom of the pyramid where core, the CoDA board, and the committees are equal or even, if you wish. And the vertically speaking, the line between the voting entities who are represented by their delegates who go to the CSC annually. So those points are clearly indicated. And as well, at the bottom of that pyramid, below the core board, the board of trustees, and the committees, there's that short blurb which kind of clarifies what their function is, and that's necessary, especially for for newer people in the program. Pass.
Crystal Z for a con?
I'm opposed to this. I think it's really important to recognize that the CoDA board wears 2 hats as trustees for the fellowship and also as trustees for CoDA Inc. Dealing with international people, there's a sense that because we deal with group consensus, that by taking a group consensus in their meeting, they can decide that the board should not be following legal procedures required by law. So I really think it's important that we have that CoDA board of trustees / CoDA Inc. Included in that chart. That'll pass.
Thank you. Krista Z for a pro.
I did have a pro because all I was seeing is that when between the charts, they were just clearing up format. But then I got confused. I did put a question in the chat to see the 2017 version on the screen. Is that possible? And I'll just pass with that because now I'm unsure.
Thank you. And our last con is Leo.
Just go back one, Connie. Up, yes, that's the 2017 one that's up there now. You might want to make it a little smaller.
Can you
so
leave
people
that
can
on the
see it.
2017 chart? I want to see that broken link, missing link. Hello?
Leo?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, can we move back to the 2017 chart?
That was the 2017
it.
chart.
That's
That
it.
is the one.
Okay. Can somebody show me the link that's missing? Can somebody describe where it is? I don't see any missing links, first of all. Second of all, I really believe that there should be some significant difference shown as far as the board's duties regarding legal stuff and fellowship stuff. I believe that there has been a tendency in recent years to confuse the two, trying to regulate fellowship stuff according to legal things or management regulations or best practices for a corporation, as opposed to what's good for the fellowship. And I really think that we need to show that difference and that the board needs to accept that difference and act on it. End of speech.
Thank you. Okay, we are done with pros and cons. 1 second while I just zero out a timer here. There's going to be no crafting on this. So Nancy, if you could please read the motion again for us, please.
Okay, we'll do motion, CoDA service structure chart. Move that the Codependents Anonymous CoDA service structure chart of the inverted pyramid revert to the chart used by CoDA from 2005 to 2016 as in figure 1 below. The intent is the CoDA service structure diagram that is currently displayed in the Fellowship Service Manual, Part 1, page 12, as shown below as figure 3, has never been approved by conference. Also, in the absence of a binding vote on ad hoc motion 20030 and 20031 at the 2020 CSC, there is no consensus supporting a change to the inverted pyramid charts presented in either motion. Pass.
Thank you. We're going to do 30 seconds now.
I have a raised hand. I don't know if it's a point of order. I think it's a point of order. Lisa J.
Yes,
Lisa J, delegate from Illinois. I would like to point out that the 2017 chart that was shown was not the one that was approved in 2017. And I think that for fairness and to make an informed decision, that the proper one should be shown.
Okay.
In the delegate packet, I see it as figure 2. Was that the one that was shown? Because I saw a different one that was shown. My apologies. I thought a different one was shown. Thank you.
Are we making a change to anything that's on the screen right now? Or can I go on with 30 seconds? Thank you. God,
higher power,
grant me the
grant me the
serenity
serenity
to
to
accept
accept
the
things
cannot
I
change,
cannot change,
the courage to
courage
change
to
things
change
I
things I
can,
can,
and the wisdom
the wisdom to know the difference.
Amen.
Okay, is there anybody that is not able to vote on this motion? And Connie or Florence, are you guys keeping track and writing these down for future reference on who cannot vote? Just so I know somebody is writing these down.
We were not. We
Okay.
weren't instructed to do so. This is,
Connie, can you,
I don't think we've done that before.
well, just in case when you review the polls, so it's at least we have it.
Oh, that's a
somewhere.
good idea.
Yeah. So Connie, if you guys could write down, if Chris, I've got things for motion one we can do later, but Chris, if you could tell us if anybody is not to vote.
Well, I don't know if anybody's in touch with Jose. His screen has been off, and I'm not sure if he's just out right now. But his camera was off. I would like to ask, there are a couple, 3 delegates whose camera is pointed up more towards the ceiling. So please try to keep your camera towards your face.
So Jose is the only person that should not.
Jose, correct. Jose is the only off screen the whole time.
Thank you. And Connie, if you could just note that. And Nancy, if you could please read the motion one more time.
Motion name, CoDA service structure chart. Move that the Codependents Anonymous CoDA service structure chart of the inverted pyramid revert to the chart used by CoDA from 2005, 2016 as in figure 1 below. Intent, the CoDA service structure diagram that is currently displayed in the Fellowship Service Manual, Part 1, page 12, as shown below as figure 3, has never been approved by conference. Also, in the absence of a binding vote on ad hoc motions 20030 and 20031 at the CoDA or at the 2020 CSC, there is no consensus supporting a change to the inverted pyramid chart presented in either motion.
Thank you. Are you ready to launch the poll, Florence?
I am. And just to let you guys know, it just says board motion 2. So because there's no way we could try editing with crafting and all of that. So I just am doing the board, labeling them board motion 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Thank you. One
Ending
minute.
polling. Sorry.
No worries.
Huh?
Okay.
Is it being shared?
Yes, I see it.
Yeah. Okay. So the motion passes by simple majority, 22 yes, 15 no, 2 abstain. It's not binding on the board, but since it's a board motion, I don't think that really matters.
Okay. Connie, you've got that, correct?
yes, thank you.
Okay, I just, from a facilitator's perspective, I'm just going to put a pause on this for just 1 second. I just have one question to make sure I'm doing this right. In following the community problem solving method, I am to keep time on every single phase that we do. So I am keeping time of the 2 minutes when a committee is presenting their motion. Am I not supposed to be keeping that time since the whole motion time is their time? Do you guys not want me timing that?
That was my fault. No, you keep time. You tell them that the presentation's up and then they can say if they want to use more time, but it eats into their total committee time.
I understand. I just wanted to clarify that I was still timing that. So thank you for that. Okay, we are ready for board motion 3.
This is Gail. I will be presenting that one.
Great, Gail, whenever you're ready.
Okay, so hopefully you have all had an opportunity to read this because it is quite detailed. Essentially what I did was I took the existing wording in the FSM and I did strike throughs and bold lettering so that you could see the changes. So if it's not bold lettering or strike through, it is exactly as it is currently in the FSM. This is the easiest way for me to do it. This was a major rewriting. Essentially what the board is proposing, instead of the long enduring process for voting entities to bring an issue, which has to be then assigned to the board or committee, and then it may take 2 years to actually get voted on. We're trying to speed up this process and make it easier for the group conscious decision of the voting entity to literally present motions versus a voting entity issue. I hope that makes
Gail, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There was a point of order brought up
Sorry.
from the last motion. We did not call for minority opinion.
Oh, I will pause.
Catherine.
Sorry, I was muted. Let me clear
Okay.
this. Okay, is there somebody that wants to do a minority opinion on the last motion?
Also, I want to give kind of an explanation about it because apparently it was asked yesterday and I was told it wasn't answered, but a minority opinion just means that you're not really in agreement with whatever the outcome was of the vote and you want to express your feelings around that.
Okay, I don't see anybody's hand, so Dave S., yes?
Yeah, since this is Dave S., Service Structure Committee Chair, since this will be falling on me and my committee for to see about putting this in the FSM, and it was a simple majority. I think it's not exactly a minute dissent, but I think we need to form a subcommittee or something of the board members or an ad hoc committee. I don't know. We need to do something. You need to talk to my liaison and the board chair and maybe the past SSC chair that is present and figure something out, since it's not a simple majority. And there's seems to be some questions on this. So that's what I wanted to say, since it's going to be coming back to service structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Gail?
Okay, thank you. Do I need to repeat everything I just said? I think I'll start over. Okay, so
Okay.
this is the board's attempt to simplify voting entities to bring a concern via their group conscious decision to conference as a motion versus the current process that they have to go through to present as a voting entity issue, which then has to be assigned by the board to either the board or a committee to be considered, which essentially kind of just bogs up the opportunity for the voting entity to be heard. And we're trying to speed that process up and make it easier so that, you know, that the inverted pyramid actually works here. So everything that is in the motion was a copy paste of the current FSM. Only changes are anything that was has a strike through is being removed, and those that are bold were reworded. So it was major restructuring to get the wording correct. And I think that that's a good enough explanation. So I'm good with moving on to questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so if you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand and I will call on you in order. And we're going to start with Lisa J.
Lisa J, delegate from Illinois. Gail, is the board open to crafting?
I would say no, because this would be considerable crafting. If there's something we need to change next year, we can do it. This is a complete rewrite.
Thank you. Judy T.
Hi, yeah, Judy T from Massachusetts. Gail, I heard you say something about wanting to speed up the process and make it more efficient. I'm not convinced that in CoDA, making a lot of changes is really desirable. It is a process that is slow, but I think that works for a much broader group conscience. And we
Judy,
can
do you have a question, Judy?
Yeah, my question is, are we really, is your point to be efficient and fast?
Our intent is so that the voting entities feel like they're being heard.
Krista Z.
Hi, Krista Z, Canada delegate. I'll start by admitting that I'm new. But what I understand right now is voting entity issues that we were talking earlier get assigned to a committee for the year and then brought back as a motion. So my question is, if by erasing this process or like skipping over that assignment to a board, do we lose anything by removing that process?
Yes.
Not really, because when a motion is presented, we can certainly encourage them to reach out to a committee that might be able to assist them in crafting. So we're just trying to speed up this process. Right now, it's a 2-year process, and sometimes things slip through the crack, and we've done everything possible as the board to not have things slip through the crack, but none of us are perfect.
Nancy O, where did you go?
I'm here.
Did you lower your hand?
No, I didn't, but I did have it up.
That's weird. Is somebody lowering hands besides me from events? Because if somebody else
I'm
isn't
not.
lowering hands, hands are being lowered without me doing it. So
During some of the practices, someone said, oh, their hand just disappeared. I did hear that once or twice.
yeah, well, Nancy was just up and I'm lowering them after they get done speaking and she just disappeared. So let's just keep an eye on that. Nancy, go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is, so with changing this motion, does that mean that voting entities would be able to send their motions directly the same way as the committees do? They'd have to meet the 75-day deadline and then submit their revisions within 60 days. And people could send their refinements to those voting entities if they saw them within that 2-week window to help them improve their motions. Is that the intention?
That is certainly part of the process, just like the board or any of the committees that present a motion. Those of us in any level of CoDA world, whether you're at the local level or any committee or whatever, can send in recommendations. Have you considered this in a crafting? Because a lot of our motions are improved and then resubmitted.
Please mute yourself if you aren't speaking. I hate to mute everybody right now, but I'll have to do that. Okay, so I'm going to do mute all right now. Okay, everybody was muted. Gail, you might want to take yourself off of mute. And Leo, you have a question?
Yeah. I've been involved in CoDA service since God only knows, a long time, over 20 years. And although I haven't been terribly active at the world level for the past few years, one of the things that I recall is that a lot of the voting entity issues, when they are submitted to the committees, they decide whether or not this is really a viable or workable situation whether or not something needs to be done about it, whether or not it's been passed over before for whatever reasons, et cetera, et cetera. Because a lot of the things that come up from the voting entities aren't worth the time it takes to, because it's for whatever reason anyway. I want to know how you intend to deal with that.
Cecilia,
All of
can you
these
hear me?
things going to be
Cecilia, can you
motions
hear me?
now, whether they have any pertinence or reality.
I was
That seems
having
like not saving time, but wasting time.
I'm sorry, there was over talk. I don't know where it was coming from. So
Shaff, you were
Shaff.
muted, Shaff. I'm trying to mute you. You're muted now.
Yeah,
Um,
I text him, sorry.
Okay, no worries. So can you
Do I need
repeat,
to-
can you
do I
just
need to
repeat the
repeat any of
question?
that?
Yeah, if you can repeat the question for Gail.
Okay. In the past,
Gail,
we've had
that's,
a lot.
I'll just reset this for a minute here. Go ahead.
In the past, we've had a lot of voting entity issues submitted that were just off the wall. They weren't going to be submitted as motions, okay? And those decisions were made by committee or board. And so my question now is, are we going to allow voting entities to submit all of these things as motions and actually discuss them on the floor? That does not, to me, seem like we're wasting time, saving time or making things more efficient. It seems quite the opposite.
Okay, good point, Leo. And our intent is when motions come in, if something is really off the wall, number one, we do have to have confirmation from the voting entity that this is by group conscious of the voting entity. It's not a meeting, a intergroup, a whatever the case may be. So there will be some questions made and encouragement for the voting entity to talk to a suggested committee regarding their intent. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Gail, you are out of time right now for questions. You have 3 hands up. Do you want to answer those questions or move to pros and cons?
I'd like to move to pros and cons.
Okay, I'm going to lower hands. If there are any hands that are being raised right now for point of order, do me a favor and put it in the chat. So I'm looking for pros. Anybody that wants to be a pro, please raise your hand. Okay, please lower your hands.
Catherine, do you need me to be double checking?
Nope, I'm good. Thank you. Okay, I'm looking for cons. Those that want to be a con, please raise your hands. Okay, we are going to start with Barbara. Let me just let me lower these hands really quick and then we will move forward. Okay, we're going to start with a pro from Barbara D.
I am very much in favor of this. I've always wondered why voting entities were treated differently than committees and boards in wanting to bring information to CSC. I think this is much more fair, and I don't really agree with the rather elitist attitude of we, the board and committees know better than the voting entities. I think the voting entities can bring their stuff. It can be, responded to and possibly withdrawn if inappropriate, but I think voting entities have a right to be heard from immediately, not in a year or two, or never if a committee decides to do it, never.
Thank
Pass.
you. Evie?
Yes, as another person who's been doing service at the world level for a very long time, there was a time when voting entities were able to bring motions and it was pretty chaotic. It has, I understand the desire to speed things up, but in reality, things move slowly, and they move slowly for a reason, so that we don't make rash decisions. And if a voting entity issue is not addressed one year, it can be brought back the next year. I think that if we pass this motion, then you could end up with conferences that go well over the time that we have, because I think you'll end up with a lot more motions. So I'm against this.
Thank you. Yvonne K. for a pro.
Yeah. Yes, Yvonne K., recovering codependent. I'm in favor of this motion. I am very excited that we're going to treat our voting entities as equal partners. And I propose that if there is chaoticness, we can just improve the process. But let's move forward in a positive way and demonstrate to our voting entities that we see them as equal and loving partners. I pass.
Thank you. Lisa.
Hi, Lisa J., delegate from Illinois. I'm in a bit of a conundrum because when I've talked with the people that I represent, I've got a yes, a no, and an abstain. So what I would like to say is if the board had been willing to be open to crafting, I would have been more willing to move over to the yes side, but I'm not. I think that there is a balance between equal partners and avoiding chaos. I think a review process is important. I don't think that the process right now is the best, but I know it improved from when I first started coming into World Service. I think there's a better way. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt for a pro.
Yes, I'm very much in favor of this. I believe it goes a long way to support the inverted pyramid, allowing voting entities to bring stuff forward. As far as chaos, I do think this is a progress over perfection. I think it's a step in the right direction. May not be perfect, but it can be adjusted. As voting entities now, delegates are vetted, and we make sure it's an actual group conscience from that voting entity. There are steps that can be taken to make sure we're not just bringing every time a group has any little issue. But I don't think that is the board or any standing committee's job to say this is or isn't an issue. I say that having those voting entities be able to bring those forward is a huge step in supporting the inverted pyramid. Pass.
Thank you. Judy T. for a con.
Hi, I'm Judy from Massachusetts, and Massachusetts voted against this, so I won't be supporting it. But I also want to say why I personally wouldn't support it, and that is about the experience. Generally, committees have many years of experience in a particular area, and it's valuable for them to give input, their experience, strength, and hope to an issue that they may be able to improve it. They may be able to have something significant to say about it. And I think it'd be a shame to miss out on that opportunity. And the other thing is the voting entities truly are the ones that are equal. They're the ones who have the votes at conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Dan from Canada.
Dan, recovering codependent, alternate delegate from Canada. This year we have a VEI that is, I guess, on the floor. And we've looked at this particular VEI at our group conscience, and we were in favor of it. This reminds me of this inverted pyramid that we're speaking of, that it is the members that are at the top. These members become part of our voting entity. So the fellowship is speaking to us, and we present the VEI to the service conference. As far as chaos, we have a method that we use, the community problem solving method. It works great. If we follow that to avoid the chaos, I think that's a plus for us. And if there is chaos, then we need to practice recovery. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. And last, we had Steve S. for a con.
I'm sorry, I raised my hand to be a pro, so I will pass.
Okay, Rosa, I see you have your hand up. What can I do for you?
I like to just, I'm a pro.
Okay,
and-
we've heard all the pros.
I'm sorry.
That's
Okay.
all right. Yeah. Thank you very much. Okay. Was there anybody else that wanted to be a con? Because we did have one more slot for a con.
Florence.
So,
Florence.
So you can't raise your hand. Okay.
No.
So give me a second here, Florence. Okay, Florence, go ahead.
Hi, yes, I just want to concur with the other experienced members here. It's nothing against the voting entities and we want to always honor them. But I do think the process needs to be better. But I am against it in the way that it's written. And I keep hearing that there's going to be, oh, we're going to make sure that it's a GC from the voting entity and these things. But who's going to control that? Who's going to be monitoring that? And that was the whole reason why it was brought as a voting entity issue, so that we could review those things first. So that's why I'm against it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Gail, can you read? We're not doing crafting, so if you could read the motion as stands.
I'm not going to read through the entire motion because that's 4 or 5 pages. So essentially the motion is to change the procedure for the voting entity issues to allow them to present directly to CSC as a motion versus the current protocol.
Thank you. We're going to take 30 seconds. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things
Accept the
that
things I cannot change,
the courage to change
the things I can,
Wisdom to know
and the wisdom to know the difference.
Chris, is there anybody that cannot vote on this motion?
I did see Jose come on screen. I'm going to trust that he was listening to the whole motion. So I have no votes that I would withdraw.
Thank you.
I did just see someone ask to be renamed, and there's an Anna Delmar Corteno who does not have a V or an X before her name. So I just wondered if there's any issues with them.
Well, Anna is a delegate, but she was off camera, so
She cannot.
yeah, I wasn't counting her anyway.
Okay. So Anna, you shouldn't be voting.
This is Gail. Chris, Joe's camera did unfortunately go off, so he is not eligible for voting this one.
Joe?
Our board Joe.
Board Joe.
Yeah.
Jose?
Jose, sorry. Jose's camera did unfortunately go off, so he's not qualified. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Connie, you have those names, right? And Gail, if you can just read the motion one more time. Just your little mini part.
Motion reading one more time. Voting entity issue motion submissions procedure change. The changes are in the strike-throughs and in the bold lettering. Pass.
Okay, Florence, you ready for a vote? Remember, only vote if you're supposed to. If you're not supposed to, just close. It's a minute.
So motion passes by 2/3 majority, meaning it's binding on the board. And it was 28 yeses and 8 nos, 1 abstention.
Okay, Salvatore, you have your hand up. Salvador, your hand is up. Do you have a question?
Sí, en español lo voy a decir. No está llegando la encuesta. A mí no me está llegando las encuestas y estoy levantando la mano por mi voto.
Okay. Can you put your vote in the chat window? Thank you. Deborah D., you have a question?
This is the first time this has happened, but I did not see the poll either. So I will go ahead and put my vote in the chat. It didn't come up for me.
Okay, thank you.
Should I redo it or?
I think it's just 2 people. If you can just do
Okay.
2 votes.
Okay, I have a vote for yes. And then I need Deborah's vote.
Right.
Okay. Is there anybody that would
I don't
like-
see Deborah's vote. Oh, vote yes. Okay, so we have 2 more yeses to add to the 28, so that's 30 yeses, 8 nos, and 1 abstain.
Does anybody want to voice a minority position? If you
And
do, raise your-
I guess I should ask, does Don have a vote? Matt?
Yeah, Don's vote was also yes.
So then it's 31.
Anybody want to do minority? Okay, I don't see any hands. So we'll move on to board motion number 4.
I will be presenting that. This is Faith from Canada, CoDA board member at large. Board motion number 4. Motion name is corrections to bylaws, and these are just 2 typographical corrections. I hope you've a chance to read this because I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to read the summary of the change, the correction. Correction to the bylaws board policy and procedure is the first correction. On page 8, there was an error, and the sentence should end at conference, and it had a comma in there. So the correction is to put a period at the end of conference, and then to start off the next sentence with the capital T for the. And then the second correction is in the bylaws, board policies and procedures, page 12, section 9, action without a meeting. Somehow there got to be this extra word in there, which was council. So it read council, board of trustees. And we took out council. So it just reads board of trustees. And that just requires changes to the bylaws. And we wish to thank the Service Structure Committee for bringing these two corrections to board attention.
I'm going to pause the board's time for a second here. We are coming up on what is supposed to be a break at 12:25. So do we want to take a break now and come back? Or do we want to move forward?
Catherine, I think Kevin amended the agenda and bumped everything out 15 minutes. So
okay, I don't have any change in the agenda at all. So I need
when we bumped out lunch. So that was supposed to have been posted in the chat. Did it get posted?
I don't monitor the chat. So
Yes,
if we
it did.
I'm asking my events members.
Yes,
Okay.
it got posted.
So when's the break supposed to be?
40? Is that what I heard? 12:40?
So we have 15 more minutes.
Okay, thank you. So we have time for questions. If you want to ask a question, raise your hand and I'll call on you. Any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions at all. Pros and cons. I'm looking for 4 pros. If you want to be a pro, please raise your hand. I see 2 pros. Is there anybody else that wants to be a pro? Okay, if you could lower your hands, the pros. Any cons? I don't see any cons. We'll go ahead with our pros. If anybody decides they want to be a con, then just raise your hand and we will add it to. And we will start with Nancy O.
Hi, Nancy O from New Brunswick, Canada, on the CoDA board. I'm for this motion. I think it's just a simple grammatical change and it makes sense. So I'm for this motion.
Thank you. Gail S. for a pro.
Ditto exactly what Nancy just said. I'm going to bring up, there is a typographical there that's underlined where it says by events committee. I'm wondering if we can squeeze in a the real quick so we don't have to change it later.
On this page here that I'm showing on the screen.
Yes, go to the last line. I see it says date and place of the CoDA. It says by, and it says events committee. Can we just add yes? Perfect.
Okay. So we don't have crafting.
We just
I'm
crafted.
gonna ask if we could make the screen, the letters bigger on the screen because I'm having difficulty reading it. I imagine everybody else is.
Well, nobody had asked for crafting was what I was saying.
I know, but I can't even read it. So. Can you scroll down to what was just changed? Didn't we just do a craft? I just heard events, so that's why I was like.
I didn't catch it before, but you know, the word the needed to be.
Everybody, please mute if you're not speaking.
Oh, so you just added the?
Correct.
Okay.
It was just a grammatical. I'm assuming the board will allow me to craft that one word.
Can you just scroll down so we could see if it says committee after?
I just got muted again. So Judy, did it get scrolled to where you want it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Faith, can you read it again for me?
Okay, this is Faith from CoDA board. This is a CoDA board motion number 4. The motion name is corrections to bylaws, 2 typographical corrections, 2 typo corrections. The first correction is to the bylaws, board policies and procedures. Actually, there are 2 corrections to it now. After conference, we're putting a period and starting the next sentence with a capital T for the. And then we're also adding for near the end for the events committee, we're actually typing in the in front of events committee. And then the second correction in the motion is to remove the word council from the bylaws, board policies and procedures, page 12, section 9, action without a meeting. The word council just crept in, so we've taken out council. And this requires changing to the bylaws, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take 30 seconds. God, grant me the
Grant me
serenity
the serenity
to accept the things I
the things I cannot change,
courage to change
courage to change the things I can,
wisdom
and
to
the wisdom to know the difference.
Chris, is there anybody that is not able to vote?
I just have one question. If LaShaw got back in the room at the start of this motion, if I could.
Yes, I did.
And LaShaw is the vote for Arizona and nobody else was off screen.
Thank you. So LaShaw can vote, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I'm supposed to ask for the motion to be read again.
Okay. Board motion number 4. Motion name, corrections to bylaws, 2 typo corrections. Bylaws, policies, board policies and procedures. Number 1 correction, which is now 2, period after conference and starting the next sentence with a capital T, and then adding near the end to the wording, events committee, the has been added to the front of that, so it reads the events committee. The second correction is to remove the word council from the bylaws, board policies and procedures, page 12, section 9, action without a meeting. This requires changes to the bylaws. Thank you.
Florence, you have a poll ready?
Oops.
Okay, a minute.
It's unanimous.
Okay,
40.
thank you. So we've still got 5 minutes before our break. Does the board want to start their next motion, motion 5?
Can I make a suggestion that we take the break first and then start the motion after the break?
Yeah, I'm the one who's supposed to present the motion, and I think that would be best.
Okay, so if we're going to take now, do we have to vote on that? Or can we just do it?
Just do
Okay,
it.
we're going to take a break. What time would you like everybody back?
Whatever.
What is it, a
Yeah.
10-minute break or 15? I don't have my thing.
Well, let's see. It was originally 10 minutes.
So 10
Yeah,
minutes.
so 10 minutes.
10 minutes from 12:35. So
Okay.
45 after.
Okay, thank you.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. Florence, I'm going to call you on the phone.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
I didn't understand regarding the time change, and since we are on a small
break
delay, yeah, no, leave the break delay.
Yeah.
Until when are we supposed to continue this
10
session?
minutes.
No, not the break, all of the session.
15 minutes behind.
So
So-
it will be until
15 minutes
your-
after the original time.
Okay.
Given, we might still go longer, but right now we're 15 minutes behind. We'll see if we catch up.
Hopefully this all we'll have, because now it's nighttime here. Okay.
Okay.
Probably be 10:15 for you, and if,
11.
oh, 11? You're 6 hours behind.
Yeah.
Oh, bedtime's not till like 3 a.m. You're good.
3 a.m. is almost waking up to work. So yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Hopefully it won't be that much of a delay. Yeah. Okay.
You can have a cat nap right now, Yanni.
Yeah. Thanks.
Oh, poor you. Hang in there.
For me, when I come out of the 30-second line, I don't remember what was just read. But so the reason why it gets read is so that we make sure that it's been. Oh, sorry.
Okay, for everybody that's getting here early, we have 1 more minute, but we're going to have to do a quorum. So if you want to raise your hand and get in line for a quorum so we can zip through that, that would be great. And then Connie, if you could be my backup on that. Connie, I'm like looking at the people, calling on them, and then I'm dropping hands. So a lot of times I will lose my count.
Yep, no
So,
worries at all.
yeah, so I really need you to be my second brain.
You bet.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Hey, Catherine, this is Yvonne.
Yes, Yvonne.
You know, I was wondering, do those hands drop off automatically if they're raised too long? Do you know if that's an aspect of Zoom?
It isn't. And we've been testing it
Okay.
on all of our practice sessions, and they don't drop off. The check and the X does, but the hands
Okay.
don't. We haven't witnessed them dropping off like that.
Catherine, sorry to contradict you, but someone did say one time or another they thought their hand was dropping. But
yeah, well, we had one today. We had one today, but it's not usual.
Yeah.
That means it's really easy to accidentally hit that also.
All right. It's thank you. 12:45, and we are going to start with quorum.
May I make
and
an observation? A lot of people accidentally raise the clap instead of the raise and lower hand, and that automatically goes away.
I haven't seen claps today, but thank you for that. Okay, let's get started with our quorum count. Nancy O.
1.
Okay, hold on 1 second here, Nancy. Okay. Evie S.
2.
Shannon O.
3.
Please mute yourself if you aren't speaking. Okay. Sally.
4.
Pete H.
Aye.
Karen D.
6.
Carmen W.
7.
Yvonne K.
8.
Lisa J.
9.
James K.
10.
Nora.
10.
11, I believe, for Nora. Is that correct, Connie?
Nora would be 11.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. David.
12.
Leo.
13.
Yaniv.
14. That's 15.
No, you're 14, I believe, Yaniv.
Oh, 14.
14.
Yes, sorry. Right.
Diane S.
15.
Jorge.
16, I believe.
Matt.
17.
Liz H.
18.
Cami.
19.
Deborah D.
20.
Sasha.
21.
Rosanna.
22.
Ann C.
23.
Juliet.
24.
Tina R.
25.
Gail S.
26, is that it?
Yeah. Burl S.
27.
Leisha C.
28.
Okay. We've got quorum. Everybody's hand who is still up, would you please lower it for me?
Catherine?
Yes.
I had a suggestion for my events members that when all the hands go up for quorum, we get a count at the bottom and you can see if they're all on video on the participant thing. So can maybe from now on, can we just say that that's quorum if we see more than 28 hands up?
If
think
that's
that would
how
be-
you, if
Do you think
that's,
that would be
if that's how
appropriate?
you want to do it, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. So
Well,
we
we would
won't
just-
do, so we won't do a count off quorum. I'll just do a visual quorum.
Unless there's some objections from the delegates. If you have an
Anybody have
object-
any objections? Okay, we'll do a total count. It'll make it a lot easier. Thank you. Board, you have motion 5.
I'm Barbara D. from the board, and I am presenting motion number 5. The title is Identification of CoDA Foundational Documents. The motion is move that motion 20023 be amended to encompass the following 7 CoDA foundational documents: the CoDA 12 Steps, the CoDA 12 Traditions, the CoDA 12 Service Concepts, the CoDA 12 Promises, the CoDA Welcome, or the short version of the CoDA Welcome, and the CoDA Preamble. Intent: clarify which are the foundational documents of Codependents Anonymous. The 4 foundational documents that are required to be read at meetings are the CoDA 12 Steps, the CoDA 12 Traditions, the CoDA Welcome, or the short version of the CoDA Welcome, and the CoDA Preamble. So the purpose of this is just to clarify which are the foundational documents. I know when I came into CoDA, they always talked about the 4 foundational documents read at meetings. And for a while, I thought those were the only foundational documents. But actually, the 12 service concepts, the 12 promises, and the short version of the welcome are also foundational documents. And we just want to make that clear. Done.
Thank you. So now we have time for questions. Raise your hand and I will call on you. So we're going to start with Evie.
I'm Evie from Connecticut Delegate, and I just want to clarify, motion 23 from last year was the one that said that to make changes to the foundational documents, it has to be brought
2 years.
2 years and get
Right.
66% and then 70. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
Right.
Thank you.
This is just clarifying what are the foundational documents we're talking about. Right.
Thank you.
Lou?
Yes. Are you open for crafting? I think that the reason I asked that question is you, in the first paragraph, you have the CoDA Welcome or the short version of the CoDA Welcome, and those are actually 2 documents that you're counting. So I would wondering if you'd be entertaining the crafting of changing the or to a comma on the first paragraph, not in the intent. Thank you.
The board did not want to craft. However, that does seem like a reasonable, yes, now they're texting me. Yes, craft. Yes. Okay. We will
So
craft
are
that.
you open for all crafting or just
No,
that
not
craft?
for lots of crafting, just
Okay,
little
so when
tiny
we-
bits of crafting.
When we get to crafting, I'll just make sure, Barbara, that that is written the way you want it to be.
Right.
Okay, Leslie C.
Yes, my question is, would you be open to crafting to remove the promises? And I say that because some years ago, when I was chair of the literature committee, we answered a voting entity issue that wanted to modify the promises by reminding them that it was not a foundational document and they were free to change I to we, and change, present tense to future tense, whatever they wanted. So there are groups out there that don't use the promises exactly as written, and I think, personally, I think that's fine. Could we consider crafting that out?
No.
Thank you,
We
Karen.
intend to keep that in we intend to have the 12 promises in there.
Sorry for the interruption there.
No problem.
Karen D.
Karen D. from Northern Nevada. I'm wondering if, because it's a foundational document, does that mean it has to be read at every meeting?
No, only the specific ones mentioned in the intent, the 4 of the 5. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Melly.
Melly from Arizona. I had the same question, so pass.
Thank you. Rosa?
In question, I had the question whether the intent of the motion is to clarify the foundation, all 7 of the foundational documents, or is the motion to have them read at every meeting?
No. As it says in the intent, you still only need to read the 4 during a meeting, but this is just to identify what all the foundational documents are.
And
nothing
where,
has changed. Nothing has changed about what you're saying in a meeting.
okay, and where is the intent of identify these foundational documents at?
It's in the motion. There's the motion and then there's the intent.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Pete H.
Question was similar, just to confirm that its intent is purely around, well, it's making these additional documents foundational documents, which I feel might lead to some confusion, but that's the intent, and about making that any changes to any of those listed would require 2 years and the high bar of 75% vote, essentially.
Correct.
Judy T.
Thank you, Judy from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Judy, you just went on to mute. I don't know why.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Judy T from Massachusetts, and I did want to clarify: is the reason for this motion to identify those extra, if you will, those extra documents as foundational in order to make it harder to amend them? What is the reason for doing this at this moment?
Not in order to make it harder to amend them, but just to clarify that they are foundational documents. No, there's no nefarious, decision to try to make it more difficult. It's just that some people have felt that these were foundational and it's never been clear, are they foundational or not? So we're just clarifying that they are foundational.
I have a quick question. Is that motion 20023, is it down at the bottom? Because
yes, yeah, it's on the next page.
I don't think it got read during the motion. Maybe
well,
it did.
it's an entire page in small print. It was
No,
our
I know.
hope that people read these motions.
Can you
before
scroll
they came
down so
here.
I can just see the original motion? That has just the motion itself, right? So yeah, that one. You just passed it again. Yeah, there. Move that amending 3 of our foundational documents, 12 steps, 12 traditions, 12, so it would be a 2-year process. Any motion to amend these foundational documents must receive a minimum of 2/3 vote to be placed. So that's what you're saying. You want all of that to be, those foundational documents will be included in that. That's why you're doing the motion, right? That's my question.
I'm not sure, because the way this is written, it's amending 3 of our foundational documents, the 12 steps, the 12 traditions, and the 12 service concepts. But actually, this 12 service concepts were not listed as foundational documents. So,
but your motion now is to change that.
And yes,
right? Okay.
Right, to clarify that they are indeed foundational documents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan, you were next.
Yeah, Dan from CoDA Canada. Now I'm voting on this motion. I guess I'm being redundant here. So what I'm understanding is that the 7 documents are part of the 2-year process. Is that correct?
So would somebody else on the board like to answer that question? Because I
Yes.
don't. Okay, yes.
NCO from
Okay.
CoDA board. The intention is to include all those documents, the 7 that are listed, the 12 steps, the 12 traditions, 12 service concepts, the 12 promises, the CoDA welcome, the short version of the CoDA welcome, and the CoDA preamble to be included. Move that the amending, it would become 7 of our foundational documents that would be required to follow.
Oh, okay. So we're basically changing that first description on the old motion where it said move that the amending the 3, it's actually amending the 7 now. So that's really what our motion is saying. And that there are 7 foundational documents subject to that rule.
Barbara, you are out of time for questions and you have 4 hands that are up. Would you like to answer your questions or go to pros and cons?
I'd like to go to pros and cons.
Okay, thank you. Let me lower hands here. Thank you for lowering those. Okay, so anybody that wants to be a pro, please raise your hand. Okay, you can lower your hands. Those that would like to be a con, please raise your hand. Okay, lower your hands, please. And we will get started with our first pro is, James, can you lower your hand for me, please?
Hold on.
Thank you. I can do it. I got it. You're done. Thank you. Evie will be the first pro.
Yes, I'm Evie from the delegate from Connecticut. And what I really like about this motion is that it clarifies what the foundational documents are. As a former chair of the Service Structure Committee, we received that question frequently. And we tried to find somewhere in our documentation whether that information existed, and it didn't exist anywhere. So I really like the fact that we are being clear about what we consider to be our foundational documents. Done.
Thank you. David A. for a con.
David A., New York delegate.
I'm not seeing this chat.
Someone else is speaking.
Can we mute?
Everybody mute, please. Okay, David.
Thank you. David A., New York delegate. I'm not opposed to the concept of defining or declaring what documents are and are not foundational documents. I'm opposed to the motion as written without the inclusion of those documents as what the documents as written we are declaring are foundational documents, because I've seen multiple copies of the promises. I've seen various other documents in this list that appear in various wordings, and I'm not ready to declare a blanket statement for that covers 7 documents without seeing the actual documents that are being labeled foundational documents, considering what that title would enable those documents to be enshrined as. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got Dan for a pro.
Dan, voting delegate for CoDA Canada. I'm in total agreement with this motion to provide that stability and continuity. These 7 documents are the essence or the core of my recovery, and I believe our fellowship. And I think the bar needs to be set like it is as proposed in the motion, to go through this 2-year process, because they are that important. Pass.
I've got James K. for a con.
Yes, I think it's too much information that when the new people come in, they want to do everything all at once. And with all this information, it's just too much. I think they need to read the 12 steps and the 12 traditions. But we go to meetings and they get carried away. They want to read everything. We lose members when they hear all this stuff. We make them. I think we should keep it simpler than what we're trying to do here. We're trying to expand too much. And when they never say 7 foundational documents. They always just say foundational documents. And the next thing you know, somebody wants to read all these documents at a meeting. We need more clarity. That's what I see here. Thank you.
I've got Nancy O as a pro.
Hi, Nancy O from New Brunswick, Canada, on the CoDA board. I'd like to reiterate what was said by Dan, pretty much almost exactly, and also to indicate that these are foundational documents that satisfy changing these foundational documents easily, make it very, we want to make it difficult only because we don't want to have people changing them back and forth, because that could very easily happen. And these are the core of our program. And also just to mention that I think that this motion does clarify that it's 4 foundational documents that are required to be read at meetings, not the 7, particularly in the intent. With that, I'll pass.
Thank you. I've got Pete H for a con.
Hi, PH, CoDA UK NSC, codependent. While I think it's great to define the foundational documents, which is something that would be great to do and I would support, I think the inclusion of so many into this 2-year, and as it says in the 220023 intention, that it sets an intentionally high bar to prevent changes to these documents. It removes autonomy from groups to make them fit their requirements, and it also allows a minority of voting entities to block potentially positive, inclusive evolution of the wording, which even we've got, I believe, something else coming up as a later vote.
Thank you. I've got Ruth Ann for a pro.
I support this measure because it clarifies what we already passed last year. And it's a measure that was very carefully and thoroughly discussed about changing foundational documents. There is something in our readings that says that the groups are autonomous and the groups can change things. They don't have to be set in stone. No one polices meetings specifically. But I think that it clarifies but it does what it's supposed to do, which is clarifying that particular motion about what documents, and as far as what those documents are, everything's in the CSA. So, if you look into the service manual, if you want to see what are those documents and what are the official documents which passed at conference, you can look at the manual. Thanks.
Thank you. And we have our last con, Linda V.
Hi, I'm gonna remove my con. Thank you.
Okay.
Catherine, someone has a green check there. I don't know who that is. I'd have to scroll up to find out. I don't know if they're trying to say something.
Yeah, that was me. I thought it was a pro, but okay, sorry.
No,
Yeah, we were doing that before and it was confusing. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so that is it for pros and cons. Barbara, you were going to just make sure that one item was crafted.
Right.
Okay, so is it written the way you want to by Connie?
Right. So Connie, what we want to do is in the description of the motion issue, in the second line, remove the or after welcome and replace it with a comma.
You have to scroll back up to the actual motion. That's the old. Oh no, that's the old motion. I'm confused.
I can't see it. I'm on my phone. So
the amended to encompass. Okay, so what do you want to change?
So I want in the second line of the second paragraph of the motion, after welcome, replace or with comma.
The CoDA welcome or the short
No,
version.
get rid of the or and put comma.
Okay, the CoDA welcome, the short version and the, okay.
Right. And that clarifies that the short version is a separate item, and that adds up to the 7 items we're discussing.
So now if you could read it in its new form.
Oh, I'd be delighted.
Isn't there a short version of the preamble too?
No. Although there should be, but no. Okay, the motion name, identification of CoDA foundational documents. Motion issue, move that motion 20023 be amended to encompass the following 7 CoDA foundational documents. The CoDA 12 steps, the CoDA 12 traditions, the CoDA 12 service concepts, the CoDA 12 promises, the CoDA welcome, the short version of the CoDA welcome, and the CoDA preamble. Do you want me to read the intent also?
Nope, that's fine.
Okay, that's it.
Now we're going to do 30 seconds. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot
Things
change,
that cannot change.
the courage to change the things I
Change the
can,
things I can.
the
And wisdom to know the
difference.
difference.
Barbara, read it one. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Chris J. Hi, Chris.
Hello. I noticed that Chris K from Ukraine was late to the start of the motion, so I'd ask that he not vote this time. And there was
Repeat that name.
Chris K from Ukraine
Okay.
was back late from the break. And there was a badge pass. Ruth Ann from Colorado is a voting delegate, and actually they're both voting delegates. They don't have to pass the badge. They only have 2 delegates. So they are both Bs.
And then my only thing is that Rosanna, I see that she's there, but Rosanna, if you could just make your screen so we can see you a little bit better. Because at times I thought I was seeing your dog and not you. I don't even know if you have a dog, but thank you very much. Okay, read it one more time, just this small little part.
Okay, motion name, identification of CoDA foundational documents. Move that motion 20023 be amended to encompass the following 7 CoDA foundational documents. The CoDA 12 steps, the CoDA 12 traditions, the CoDA 12 service concepts, the CoDA 12 promises, the CoDA welcome, the short version of the CoDA welcome, and the CoDA preamble.
Thank you. And are you ready for a poll, Miss Florence?
Launched.
Someone is not muted.
I'm muting everyone. Okay, that's a minute. Florence, it's a minute. We've got 88% yeses, 14% no, and 0 abstain, so it passes. You're muted.
36 yes, 9 no, or sorry, 36 yes, 6 no, 0 abstains. The motion passes by a 2/3 majority.
Is there anybody that wants to do a minority opinion? If you do, raise your hand.
Pete has his,
I will give you a minute. Pete?
Just to reiterate my prior point that I feel like the inclusion of them in the high bar of change may result in the wording remaining less inclusive and not allowing the fellowship to be as welcoming and opening to members and co-dependents who suffer, especially in the socially remote groups that may benefit from that, coming from a point of love. Pass.
Thank you. Shannon, I see that you have your hand up. I'm not sure what you need.
I just have a question. So if I'm out of order, I apologize.
Okay. What is your question?
This is Shannon O from CoDA Canada delegate. I'm just wondering if this passing will make some of our other motions and VEIs moot now because they are about changing wording in foundational documents.
Thank you.
that's a good question, actually. Can someone from the board answer her?
I'm sorry, I was busy doing one other thing.
That's okay.
Could you repeat it, Shannon?
Sure. Shannon O from CoDA Canada. I was wondering if this passing would create a situation where further VEIs and motions would become moot, the ones that refer to changing foundational documents, such as the one to change inclusive gender language.
This is Don from the board. No.
So you're saying that this will go into effect after this conference? Is that what the board is saying?
I think we may need to consult about that.
I think that's true of all motions. All motions, they go into effect at the end of the conference.
Okay, thank you. So the board's time is up, if you will. And I see that we
also
have hands.
We're also at end of time for the whole day.
Yeah, we have, hold on one second, Florence. We have hands up and we had a question period of time. And so every time that we're taking questions afterwards, it's outside of the community problem solving and it's adding time. I'm trying to be generous and letting people ask questions, but I'm really going out of what the norm should be to keep us on track. So I understand that there might be some questions, but really at this point in time, it would be, is there a point of order or does somebody want to call point of order? Or is there somebody that wants to call 30 seconds, et cetera? If you're having technical difficulty, then you should be chatting with events. I appreciate that we have questions, but we are out of time and over time right now.
So we have to, first off, Lisa J just put up a point of order, but first we have to ask to request time because we still have core left. So that will be the first order. And then I have the thing that we discussed before about the quorum count has been one of the delegates would like to bring that as a motion to the floor. So that's two things left for the day. And there's a point of order. I don't know what Judy and Evie have, but Lisa J has a point of order at this moment.
Okay, Lisa.
So you decide which order you want to do those things.
Florence, it's the one that you mentioned. I will back off and wait till you decide what happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And Judy, do you have a point of order?
I don't know if it's a point of order, but I'd, in 2 seconds, just like to request that the board meet to consider that motion that just passed because I don't think that the answer was correct. this is going to affect whatever might be changed tomorrow.
Thank you. And Evie, do you have a point of order?
Yes, and it's related to the same thing. Last year, when motion 23 from last year was passed, it immediately affected the SSC motion to change the 11th tradition. So if it did last year, it should this year as well. So it should affect them. So all it's going to mean is that those motions will require 2 years to pass.
Okay.
This is Don on the board, then I stand corrected. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa J has her hand up.
Yep. Lisa, you have a point of order? Yeah, so your hand isn't up. Okay, let me lower Evie's hand. Lisa's hand is lowered. And so now we are, what time is it right now? So it is 1:20. We are over time right now. And so we need to vote on if we are going to give 15 minutes to CORE today to do their business.
And we also have a delegate who asked for a motion about the quorum count.
Okay, so we have to do
a procedural thing.
A procedural vote. So we're going to have to take these one at a time. And I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to vote on if we are going to give extra time to the schedule today. That's the first thing that we have to do. We can take into account that we need to give core time. And if somebody wants to bring a motion, we need to give motion time. So do we want to give another 30 minutes for today?
Motion time. No motions are brought to the floor till the end.
Catherine, you're muted.
Chris J, I see you have your, thank you. I see you have your hand up. Do you have a point of order or do you have something that?
Actually, I do have a point of order about the motions because we have taken the vote, but part of the process is the vote is published and then we revisit and we review the record and then we approve the minutes. So I actually do have some thought that that doesn't happen until the last day. So I'm kind of on the fence on whether or not motions, kick in immediately or at the close of business. So it's just something to think about for conference.
Well, this is a process motion. And, so I think that's a little bit different because it has to do with something that we were going to change about the process. So what I'm assuming is the motion was that, I don't know what the motion is because we were just not going to count off. And I was going to use the feature that I have that gives me a total count of hands raised for quorum. So I don't know what the motion is that's wanting to be raised.
Catherine, I was referring to whether or not passing this one motion impacts the others for the next 3 days. That was actually my question because we have to verify and approve those minutes. So we've taken the vote, but then we have to come back and revisit and approve the minutes.
Can I make a suggestion about that board motion that the board consult tonight and come back in the morning and give us some clarification on how that affects the rest of the conference?
We'll be quite happy to do that. We are already discussing it.
Thank you.
So do we want to add 30 minutes to the day to give core time and give this one motion time? And does anybody want to bring that motion or another motion right now? Because right now we're over time.
And I'm just letting you guys know that I will be stepping away for 15 minutes if we add time because I have a telehealth appointment.
Okay, yes, Yvonne.
I bring a motion that we extend this day another 30 minutes so that CORE has an opportunity to do their report and the delegate is able to bring their motion forward.
Do we have a second?
I second that. Go to Canada. I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, so Dan is second, Connie, and Yvonne was first. And we need to take a vote on that. Can you do a quick poll, or do you want me to do hands? Florence? I'm sorry, you're muted.
I think I can, let me launch it. I have a blank procedure poll. It just says procedure change.
Okay.
So you guys are voting on
All
this
in
procedure
favor
change.
of adding the 30 minutes. Okay, I know it's before a minute. Has everybody voted? Okay, so it looks like we've got 28 for, 10 no, and 1 abstain. Okay, so that means it passes. CORE has 15 minutes.
So we'll do the other one after CORE.
Yeah, we'll do CORE first.
Okay,
Yep.
I just letting you know, I might be stepped away for 15
That's
minutes.
fine.
Okay,
No
I'm
worries.
gonna assign the host to Kevin.
Okay, great.
We're not gonna
Hey,
be able to
Vaughn.
poll when she's away, just so you know.
That's all right. Okay, Miss Yvonne.
Okay, Kathy, gonna start.
Okay, and do you, Connie, do you have the slideshow? The slides? Can you put that up, please?
I don't have slides. No, but
Yvonne sent them to you.
when did she send them? I've been online here. Today?
No, I'm sorry, Connie. They were submitted to the delegate package. So if you're not displaying the delegate package, I'm assuming then we'll just speak to our slides and everybody.
Sorry, I'm just wondering which slides I might have already downloaded.
Okay,
it's the CORE
core
annual
board.
report.
Okay, no.
Do you see? I've got this. Oh. Wait. Where's my shares?
I can probably share them. Let me see. I can share them.
Oh.
Oh, I was sharing them.
We're sharing them. Try it again.
Okay, I can share them. I don't know what the hell, here they are. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna time myself.
I
I'm
got it.
Kathy.
Okay.
And Kathy H. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I'm a new member of the CoDA Resource Publishing Company, and I am the treasurer. So I'm going to do the first 6 slides, and Yvonne is our chair. She's going to do the second, and thank you so much for the extra time. So I'm going to go quickly, because we only have 15 minutes. CORE prints and sells and distributes the English and also Spanish conference-approved materials. These materials include a hard copy, which is the books that you get and the pamphlets, digital, which is Kindle and iTunes, and also audio. And the income from all this is subsidized and gives direct funds to CoDA World. CORE does not use an outside management company. And we do this all ourselves. Warehouse distribution, the online store, the printing, the graphic, and all administration. Okay, next slide. Here's the CoDA financial. And as you can see, in 2019, we had more, but because of COVID, we had a little bit less. 2020 income was $413,685, and We had a little bit of a loss there, but that's understandable because of COVID. And the royalties sent to CoDA this year, or 2020, was $145,652. 2019, it was at $10,000 more. And seventh tradition for 2020 was $677. 2019, it was $3,000. So you see, just because of COVID, we did have some less finances. 2021, the financial reports are also in your delegate package. Top sellers, this is very interesting. Top sellers, the CoDA Blue Book is the top seller. We sold 10,594, and the amount that we sold, we received. And then the second top seller is the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions workbook. And then the third seller in this moment, meditation, and you can see the quantities, but I only have a minute per slide, so I'm going quickly. The Newcomer's Handbook, that was next. Peeling the Onion, which is a wonderful brochure. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend you to purchase it. Welcome Home Chip was also in the top. Relationship Toolkit, 12-step handbook, we sold 1,096 of them. Tools for Recovery, 1,044. Making Choices, we sold 922. And the Spanish 12 Steps and 12 Traditions workbook, 183. So you can see, if in your delegate packet, you can see the percentage of sales. I'm going to go to the next slide. The literature that was reprinted in last year in English and also in Spanish was Attending Meetings, the 12 and 12 Green Workbook, the Welcome Brochure, and my Codependent Brochure, Newcomer's Handbook, Boundaries, In This Moment book, and the CoDA Blue Book. And in Spanish, the In This Moment book, the 12 and 12 Green Workbook, Peeling the Onion, and my Codependent Brochure. Yes?
Okay, I'm sorry, your number, when it comes
It's
up. I
okay.
don't recognize
Let me mute everybody here. Hold on one second. Okay, Kathy, you'll need to unmute yourself.
I didn't know how to do it because I'm sharing screen.
Yeah.
Okay, was that the sixth slide, Yvonne?
Yes.
Yvonne's going to do the second six.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone. Yvonne, Recovering Codependent Core Chair. So our 2020 accomplishments, Kathy and Addie, past member of the core board, organized this amazing volunteers, a group of people who volunteered and created an adult coloring book, which the literature committee will be bringing forward as a motion. And the literature committee collaborated by reviewing, editing the document. We restructured the Blue Book pricing. We reduced the price for individuals and while increasing the price for large retailers. So therefore, there was no negative impact on commissions, or I should say, royalty payments to the CoDA organization. We now have the CoDA Blue Book Pocket Edition in audio available on Audible for purchase. And we're looking at bringing it to our core store, but there's some technology issues. We got to work on that. We've improved the online navigation for Spanish speakers, and we've included now some links to the international CoDA websites across Europe. Also in 2020, next slide, we released, we're working now with the literature committee, and we've actually brought to them actually a 2-year report on what is the reprint schedule coming up and coming due. And that really helps everybody plan a lot better, because you can imagine these cycles are not going to happen overnight. So that's really been helpful. We put out a newsletter to all of the individuals who registered on our website. And we actually did a Christmas offering this year of special pricing on some literature to see if, that had a positive impact, which it did. People really did enjoy that. So I can see us starting to do more of that in the future, where we have special literature around the holidays for different types of things. So going to the next slide, our goals for 2021. Madeline, who is also another board member, is working right now on getting the Spanish Blue Book on audio, and that should be released very quickly. We have on the website, if you go to the website, you'll notice that we now have, for all of the materials, printed materials, the books and the booklets, we have a look inside function so that you can click on it and individuals can read, 3 or 4 pages from the content. And one of the other things, because meetings are not selling literature now, because of course many meetings are not meeting together, a lot of individuals are coming to the website. And so our warehouse person who answers the phone was telling us that they were getting a lot of questions that like recommendations of what to purchase. So we reorganized the website so that now we have topics. So if you're a newcomer and you want to know what literature might be good for a newcomer, so we have newcomers, working the steps, starting a new meeting, and relationships. So we've kind of broken it down, not only in English and Spanish and type, but also more of a topical to help people who are newcomers who don't know the literature to find their way. And then the other thing we're working on, we'll be working on very shortly here, is having free streaming of MP3s and low cost downloads. So they're going to be existing CDs. We're not printing CDs anymore because very few people buy them. And so we're going to take all those CDs and either make them available for free streaming and or a very inexpensive download. And so with that said, if you want more information, there's some slides in there that have pictures, but I encourage you to go to corepublications.org and just look around and see what's new. And in closing, I just want to thank everybody who is on our board. Addie was vice chair and she's recently stepped down. Madeline R., who's our secretary and does Spanish print liaison. Richard L. from Canada is our English print liaison. And of course, Kathy H., our treasurer. Thank you. And with that, I pass.
Thank you very much. We've got about 6 minutes left. If there's anybody that has questions for the core board, raise your hand and I will call on you. Okay, Dan.
Dan from CoDA
I might
Canada.
need help.
Not a question, but just for your information, it is Richard I. from Canada that I forget what his function was in core. I think it had Richard L., which should be an I.
You're right. It's a typo. Apologies.
No problem.
Thank you. James K.
Can we see the coloring book?
The literature committee will be bringing the coloring book as a motion later in the week.
And the coloring book was available in the delegate packet under non-motions. So you can view it before we vote on it.
Mary?
I had a comment because I see how much CORE has been doing and really appreciate all they have done. They've really brought some great improvements to it. So thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we will move on. Okay. Yes, Nadia.
Hola, buenas tardes. Más que una pregunta quería, bueno, sí, una pregunta. Consultar, mencionó la compañera Yvonne que iba a haber descuentos este año nuevamente como se hizo el año pasado con el libro en este momento. Quería consultar si va a haber descuentos también para las versiones digitales en español. Gracias.
So is someone going to help me with that translation?
Oh, you couldn't hear it. She wanted to know if there are going to be any discounts. What I understood was like we normally give some discounts during the conference. I think that's what she was asking, if there would be any discounted literature during the time of conference, like when we're in person. If anybody else heard anything different. And Yvonne, if you go down to your globe at the bottom and click on it and you choose English, when anybody is speaking Spanish, it'll automatically translate for you.
Catherine, may I interject? This is Rosa. She added the digital format, if there will be any discounts on the digital format for this year. Thank you. So not this year, but we are definitely working on getting all the digital onto core publications, because then we will have more control over them. Right now, the digital is being sold on Amazon and we can't control their prices, or we have no influence, I should say, on their prices. So if we bring those digitals back to core publications, then yes, we can do that.
Thank you. And Jillian's got a hand up.
Hi, I'm Gillian from UK, trusted servant. I'd just like to ask what CORE are doing about sustainable printing, the paper, etc., the weight of paper, because sending things is getting very expensive to send things. And also the way it's printed as well is quite old-fashioned as well. Our publishers in the UK have been saying sending stuff abroad is very expensive now because of the weight of the blue book, etc. And I just wondered what CORE's policy was on green developments, please. Pass.
Okay, I don't have a good answer on that because we haven't discussed green options. What we have discussed, so there's kind of two separate issues from CORE's point of view. There's the issue of how expensive it is to ship printed materials. And we've been in a lot of discussion about that. And really the only realistic thing at this point is to figure out how to get everything on digital, downloadable, so that individuals can purchase digital items directly from us and we can price them appropriately. When it comes to printing the blue book on more sustainable paper, I'll be honest with you, we haven't discussed that. I'll take a note of that and we can bring it to the board. Thank you.
And I just say another thing. We've had requests from India where they have not much money at all. And again, they are desperate for things to be sent. And maybe we could send them an overload of things extra, or maybe we could have a fund to be able to certain countries that can't afford the literature? Question mark.
Yes, I think this is a really good conversation and we should open this up to a wide audience and create a work group on it. So let's put that, put a pin in that and make a plan this next year that we're going to try to open this up to a broader group so we can discuss it on a global way.
Okay, Evie, it will be the last question. We're just about out of time.
Well, actually, I'm not a question. Mine isn't a question. I just wanted to say that in the past, we have done that. CoDA paid for it. We put together a package. I forget who it was to. I think it might have been to Colombia. It was somebody in South America where they couldn't afford, and we put a package together. So that has been done in the past.
Venezuela.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to move on, and I am going to ask the person who wanted to bring a motion to please raise their hand. Okay, Lisa J., do you want to state what your motion, the motion you want to bring to the table is?
Yes. Do you want me to lower my hand right now? I figure I'll start there.
No, that's fine. I'll take care of that.
Great, thanks. So my name is Lisa. I am a recovering codependent delegate from Illinois. I would like to ask that the conference decide how the quorum count will take place. I don't believe it's appropriate that two people attending here are the ones that decide. I believe it's up to conference to decide. So I would like to ask that conference decide if the quorum will be taken in the manner in which you described, Catherine, through the counting of hands in Zoom. Thank you.
Is there somebody that wants to second that motion?
Yvonne K, I second.
Okay, so Connie, we have a motion from Lisa J. The change of doing the quorum count based on just counting the number of participants that we see in the window, as opposed to having everybody count off. And if it is okay to make that change. Is that okay, Lisa?
Yes, to be honest, it would be helpful if we could see it on a share screen, but if not, I will accept. I know it's going to get read again, right?
Yeah, so Connie, can you write that up? So we'll need to have that written into the motion software. If you
Yeah,
will,
it's
your
written in
template.
Larissa's writing it in the motion database. She's not on the screen, so we're just gonna have to read it.
Okay, so while that motion is being written, if you will, can we go on and do questions, etc., and then be able to show it as printed, or do we have to wait until it's printed and it's on the screen?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking, yeah, because you're the one that's bringing the motion right now. So
I'm comfortable entertaining questions from people until it's done, because my understanding of our process is it's going to be read at least 2 more times.
it is going to be read at least 2 more times.
So I'm comfortable with moving forward with questions.
Okay, so we have 6 minutes for questions. If it's not a point of order for your hands being up right now, Chris, do you have a point of order? Okay, Evie, do you have a point of order? Okay, so I'm going to lower your
No.
hand right now. Okay, and Chris, you have a point of order.
I would just like to ask everyone who is voting on this or is an alternate to put their video on, and everyone who is a trusted servant and will not be speaking to this question, please turn your videos off. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Do you have a point of order, Judy?
I don't know if it's a point of order or an amendment, but I'd like to know who's going to count, or the capacity of the person who's doing the counting for the record.
Oh, so you're talking about part of the process. So we're going to start the questions now. So hold on just 1 second, okay? I need to set a timer. Okay, so now we're going to start 6 minutes of questions. Okay, raise your hand. As soon as the first person starts talking, I'll start a timer. And what we'll do is we'll deal with questions now. And we'll start with Judy.
Yeah, can we say who's going to count?
If you're asking, maybe I'm not being clear, so maybe I need to restate. I didn't agree with the way that it was handled. That was my issue. I believe it's up to conference to decide. My take is that we keep doing what we've been doing, counting off, because it's a transparent count. At this point, the way it's been presented, that a couple people decided, it is no longer a transparent count. Somebody else is saying, okay, I've got 30 hands on the screen, we're good to go. I'm uncomfortable with that. And I believe it's up to conference to decide, not one person or 2 people. So if I'm totally open to crafting, I'm totally open to a different way of stating this. I don't claim to be a wordsmith, but I do, my conscience is really not okay with the way it was handled. So that's where I'm at.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so that I'm thinking the motion could be the conference will do the quorum count, by counting off, or whatever the usual procedure was.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Since
Please.
Since it came from me and Catherine. So neither Catherine nor I are a delegate. So technically, if you guys are not in agreement and there's no delegate who wants to say, yes, let's change the procedure to do it the way Catherine and I suggested, then we would just keep doing what we're doing and we don't need to go through.
And there's no need for a motion, and we would just continue doing a count off.
Okay, thank you. That sounds like a great solution. So and could I ask one thing, if we could allow for just a teeny bit extra time for people to find the raise hand button? Because I was trying to find the raise hand button to say, wait, I object, and it was gone.
It's down where your reactions are at the bottom.
Yeah,
And
I know.
Yeah.
And it went so fast that I didn't get there in time is my point.
Oh,
If
okay.
you could allow like 30 seconds or 45 seconds, because I'm not a youngin', I'm a little bit older. I don't go quite so quick, just being real. So thank you. I appreciate you all.
Thank you. So
Does
there's
Evie
no
have a
need,
hand?
there's no need to bring a motion, and we will continue
Well-
to count off for quorum. But
Well,
I did,
unless Evie is bringing the motions, because she has her hand up.
let me ask one question before we call on Evie. Did we vote on the change before, or we did not vote on the change before, and we just made a decision? And that's
We did
what
not
you're-
vote on it.
Okay, fine. Evie?
I am willing to bring the motion, but if other people aren't interested in it, I don't want to waste the time on it. I just think it would be, if we, and the way the motion was worded was not correct. So
what is so I was dealing with a person who was bringing a motion, and then that motion was seconded. So now is that motion being retracted?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm comfortable
so-
with it being withdrawn, and
Okay.
if another motion would like to come to the floor, I can step out of the way. Thank you.
Okay, so that is where we were at is over. Now, Evie, do you want to bring a different motion?
no, I'm not going to bother. We'll just, it'll just take a little bit longer each time, and we'll get faster at doing it. So,
Okay.
okay.
So
Okay.
I don't know if this is a point of order or not, but in the past, when these things have come up, I've seen Lisa at the floor take the temperature of the room and do a quick, what do you guys think? So we know what, and it's just not a formal procedure. It's not that. And that's been done for some procedural things of just saying, what do you guys think? And we just do it real quick. So I don't know if that applies to this or not, but that's kind of what seems like this is, that it's just hey guys, what do you think? Everybody raise their hand. And if not a lot of people are for it, then you move on.
Well, that's what we did.
That's what we
And
did.
That's what we did.
Yeah.
We did, and we brought it and we asked. And so now there is a motion being brought up. And so then somebody wasn't okay with that. So we'll go back to counting off. Okay? So
But apparently we didn't give enough time. That's where we didn't
That's
give enough time for people to get the feel of the room. That's what happened.
Yep. So we'll make sure that we make note of that. So do you have any announcements, events?
Yeah, so watch your email tonight. Hopefully we'll get the motions out as soon as Connie gets them to us. So how that works is that we'll give you a copy of all the motions from the database. You guys review them tonight, please, before you come back tomorrow. So that when because that's the first part of business, is we put those motions up and we say, hey, can we approve these motions from the day before? And, it's just basically to make sure that what we voted on has actually been recorded. So that's the first announcement. We will also get the amended agenda from the agenda changes that we did at the beginning of the day with the changes for Wednesday. Well, I guess it was Thursday, Friday, we made changes, I think. And we'll get that amended agenda hopefully out to you tonight also, and the meeting link. I think those were the main things I had. Yeah, anything else? Oh, the hospitality suite, I guess. Kathy, do you have a schedule for anybody in the morning or
Yes.
tomorrow?
Let me pull it off. No. Hospitality. Wednesday morning, 9:30 to 10:30 is finance. And after the conference, IMC 4:30 to 5:30 and TMC Crystal. And there was one other that signed up for it. I think it was outreach.
Hi, Kathy.
Yes.
Could you clarify how folks can get a link so they can attend the pre-CSC hospitality with finance to learn all about our budget and our upcoming motion.
I don't know that. It's, I guess I can put it in the chat.
No, because we won't be open yet for conference. So, so we'll have Jeff send it out to the delegates in the morning when we open up the room.
Thank you. And if you wouldn't mind making me host, then no one from events has to get up early to open the Zoom.
I don't know how to do that.
I'll just open
before
it.
we open the room.
I'll be
Like, I
up
can
by
do it while you're in.
9:30.
Okay.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow at 9:30 Eastern.
Unless finance has a, don't you have a Zoom account?
We do, and we can set it up. I just didn't want to mess with your mojo. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well, if that's easier for you, you could set up and give us the link and we'll send it out in the morning.
I'll do that right after conference closes. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Let's end with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity
Need the serenity
to accept the things I
accept
cannot
things I
change,
cannot change,
the courage
Courage
to
to change the things I can,
and the
and the wisdom to know the
difference.
difference.
Thanks, everyone.
and if,
In the morning.
Thank you.
Catherine and whoever can stay from events for 5 minutes.
Keep coming back tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Flo, may I stick around for a minute too?
Yep,
Tell
sure.
me you can hear me.
Chris, are you a co-host or not a co-host?
I believe I am not a co-host right now.
Okay,
I was yesterday, but I'm not today.
okay. I just was curious about something. If events could just go and raise your hands. I know that Florence can't, or whoever is a host, but the other people from events committee, can you please raise your hands right now?
I am not a co-host.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Everybody else, if you guys could sign off.
Oh, yes. Let me just say goodbye to the interpreters. Thank you very much, Francis and Cecilia. We will see you again tomorrow, half hour before the start. Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome. Very good feedback today. Thank you so much for your good service to us.
Okay, if everybody who's not events can sign off.
Chris asked to stay after, and we're wondering if you need your support team.
No, I don't think so. No.
Okie dokie. Thank you.
So Chris, when you open up your participant window, do you see a count at the bottom of how many hands are up?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
Only co-hosts see that.
Okay, I just wanted to double check.
No, I do not see it. I only see a total count at the top. I do not see hands up at the bottom.
So you see a total count where?
All the way at the top where it
Oh,
says.
so you see where it says participants 9. Okay.
Exactly, participants.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So Catherine?
I just wanted to double check it.
Yeah, so no, wait, guys, leave your hands up.
Oh, well, let me put mine back up. 1 second.
Everybody put their hand back up that can. Because you were saying you didn't, so I have, if I go to the 3 dots, I have a clear all feedback that clears all the hands. You don't have to go individually. So I'm just curious if you have that. It's not called lower hands, it's called clear all feedback.
Okay, so let me put my hand up right here. So tell me which window you are seeing that in, Kevin.
I'm in the participant window.
Okay.
And then at the 3 dots at the bottom.
Can I just interrupt? Could we
Yeah,
close off the recording and the YouTube, please?
Oh.
I just